Hi, hello. Let's read some dark romance. Hi, I'm Tally, and for those who don't know, I don't really read romance or dark romance. I have recently been dipping my toe into contemporary romance. I am quite a fan of monster smuts though, and I decided I'm going to try out some dark romance. So come along with me. I've picked out 3 that we are going to read. Come along with me and see my thoughts and if this is something I'm going to continue to read. Also, if there's any books I should be reading, drop them in the comments because I need the recommendations. It's been 10 years, I've waited for them, they've waited for me, and now they're back. From prison, for protecting me, my knights in shining armour, Dylan and Levi, my boyfriend and my stepbrother. What they don't know is how broken I am, how these years have changed me, and how, though I've tried to deny it for so long, I want them both. It's so wrong. No one would understand, and living under the same roof together, having these thoughts, it's a ticking bomb waiting to explode. But with the way they look at each other and at me, maybe they're also willing to crash and burn. Except they're not the only ones from the past who have returned. It's come back to haunt me with a vengeance. But make no mistake, they're also willing to prove how far they'll go, how many lives they'll destroy, the crime they'll commit again and again to keep me safe. These monsters are dangerous, but they're also mine. Okay, Fracture by R.D. Baker. Let's go. Okay, so friends, I am 30% of the way through Fracture. Yeah, so I started it last night. I was like, I'll just read a chapter or 2. I'm on chapter 10. This is the most like easy compulsive writing that I'm just kind of like zooming through it, and I want to read more. And what is going on? So we follow Stella. I kind of hate that name, but Stella is our main female protagonist. She when she was like 16 or something, her boyfriend and her stepbrother, who she met as like a 14-year-old and he was 16 or something, like they didn't grow up as children together. Let's make that clear. Her boyfriend, who was her stepbrother's best friend, so we've got Dylan, who was her boyfriend, and then we've got Levi, who was her stepbrother, and those two were best friends, which is how Stella met Dylan and they started dating. And they killed her dad and Levi's dad. They shot him, and they've been in jail for the last 10 years. And at the beginning of the book, Stella's going to pick them up. They've been released as part of a, I don't know, some sort of incentive or something, and they're being released, and she goes to pick them up, and she's not spoken to them for 10 years. Like, she sent them letters, they've never replied. There's a lot of like tension between them all, and she picks them up, and she's a lawyer now, and Levi has a little mocking of her for getting in line and being a lawyer. I think that their dad was some sort of politician, and we know that Levi's mum, Stella's stepmom, is an awful person and abused Stella in some way while when she got custody. She got guardianship of Stella when her dad died. The reason they killed her dad is related to him sexually abusing Stella or facilitating in her being sexually abused or something. It's not been fully discussed yet. Content warnings to the brim though, but I think that is a given in perhaps this genre. Yeah, so they're adults now, and Dylan and Levi, she's agreeing to have them live at her place. And it's just, why am I reading this? But also I want to know more. So like Dylan is immediately trying to come on to her, and she's like, don't just treat me like a lay. You thought you could just come out of prison and what, we would just pick up where we left off. And he's like, yeah, but I love you. And she's like, yeah, I love you too. But for some reason there's like this overwhelming like sexual tension between her and her stepbrother. I mean, literally, he's been there for like a day as she's checking out his Johnson whilst he's asleep. And then him and Dylan have they've bought a motorcycle repair place in town. They're both really into motorbikes. And this is all within like the first week of getting out of jail. And they hold like, they throw a party at Stella's place without warning her, and they have all of their new employees there to meet them. And then she's just like getting naked in a hot tub and just flashing all of herself to her stepbrother, and he's like, if you don't behave, I'm gonna spank you. And she says, will I be naked or something? It's just that. Look, I know that they didn't grow up as brother and sister, but it's just, okay, so maybe some people do live like this, certainly in kind of romantic books and stuff they do, but are people this like outwardly like innuendoing or like what's the word, I don't really know, like implying to each other like so graphically so soon into a relationship? I know that they already have a prior relationship, but they don't know each other as adults. They only knew each other as like teenagers, and it's been 10 years. So they're kind of starting their relationship from scratch because they didn't have a relationship when he was in prison. So I don't know, I feel like it would be like if you bumped into someone who you were friends with in school and it's been 10 years, and when you're at school there was nothing sexual between you, would you just be like, are you gonna spank me to this person? Just, it just feels really rushed. That's the word, rushed. And if you want me to like believe in the blossoming, uncomfortable, like sexual nature of them, I want it to feel at least believable. One good thing is she goes to therapy, and she has spoken to her therapist about it, said, I'm having like sexual thoughts about my stepbrother, I've been masturbating thinking about him. And her therapist like, look, it's quite normal after what's happened, and goes into therapy talk. And Stella has dealt with a lot of the issues, making like some questionable sexual decisions, which she seems to be holding a lot of guilt over, probably completely unjustified, so she feels guilty about it. But she seems to, it's probably like shame, because a young woman being free with her sexual nature, society is going to mean that she holds some shame over that. So that's probably what it is. Oh yeah, and we've had the description of her body by her stepbrother and her ex-boyfriend from Dylan and Levi, about how she's basically a Barbie. Her waist is like this, and then she's got a big bum and then big boobs, and she's blonde, and she like has a waist like this. She's a Barbie doll, and she wears such tight trousers that they could tell she's not wearing underwear. And I'm like, I mean, thongs and stuff like that do exist, and like underwear that doesn't leave a panty line, but sure, yeah, she's 100% going out and about without underwear. It's the only explanation. Yeah, so she really wants to bang her stepbrother and her ex-boyfriend. Her and her ex-boyfriend have had, at this point, had a little something like they finally gave into it, and he was going down on her and she was really into it, but then she started imagining her stepbrother being her as well and how much she would love that, so she kicked him out of the room. And then putting that aside, so we also, this is done in like, each chapter has a different POV. It kind of goes like Stella, Levi, Dylan, or whatever. Dylan, yeah, that is his name. And so Dylan has been outwardly bisexual since he was a teenager. In school he was bullied for it relentlessly, so he is outwardly bisexual. And when they were in prison, so they were like 19 when they went into prison. When they were in prison, him and Levi obviously stuck together, and he started getting a bit of a crush on Levi and had some feelings for him. He never acted on it because Levi's straight and he didn't want to like ruin their friendship or whatever. And I guess, I don't know, it's prison. I don't know how chill gay sex is in prison. I assume it's quite rife, but I question how much of it is like a romantic sense and how much of it is just like a power play. I don't know. I'm not a man and I've never been to a prison in America, so I wouldn't know. But he so he's really angry with himself because he's basically in love with Levi and he's in love with Stella, and he knows it's fucked up. And then we get Levi's POV, and Levi, as soon as he sees Stella, he's like, I want to fuck her, basically. And he's kind of being really outrageously flirty with her. Like, he goes in the bookshop with her. She loves reading smutty books, and she's literally going shopping for smutty books every day. So she's going through them at a pace, and he's like, oh, will you read out your favourite parts to me? Excuse me, sir. Sir, it's a Barnes and Noble, and you're what? But he's also like struggling with himself because he has also started to catch feelings for Dylan. Like, when they were in prison, he started to notice Dylan's like muscles and how he's fitting out as he became an adult. And obviously they have this bond. They've been through it together. So he's come out of prison. He wants to bang his stepsister. He low-key, high-key wants to bang Dylan. And he's never done anything with a man, but he's gone to pay someone, a man, to go down on him. And he screams out Dylan's name when he comes. I don't know what I can get away with on YouTube. And so now he's realised, hang on, I do have a thing for Dylan. At this point, they have had sex, Dylan and Levi. They've decided to act on it, because Levi was drunk and was basically like, how did you know that you were bisexual? And he's like, I can't stop thinking about you. I kind of want to bang you. And Dylan's like, I'm so horny. I've been in prison. And they have sex and agree it's going to be a one-off just to get out their system. But it's clearly not going to be a one-off. And they all basically want to bang each other. They all want to bang each other. And it's just at this point where someone's just got to admit it. And this is 30% of the way through. And I feel like we're already at the crux of the whole thing. Like, there was no tension building up. Where is the rest of this book going? There's gonna have to be some sort of, I guess there's gonna have to be some sort of plot outside just the three of them. And I don't know, like, is this quite normal? Because I assumed it would just be I don't know why I assumed, like, this is called like a dark taboo romance, right? And I did kind of possibly incorrectly assume that it would just be like small little bits of very low stakes plot that just gets them from sex scene to sex scene to sex scene. But there's actually like a plot building in the background. And that's not what I assumed these books would be like. So that's quite strange. I think, I don't know, maybe I read too much Tumblr one-shots, but I just kind of assumed it would just be like, yeah, Probably there are books like that out there that are literally just a small bit of fluff. But I mean, yeah, I've started a series which I've not actually picked up for ages. I've only read 2 books called like The Creature Cafe or something. I'll put that up here. And that is basically just tiny bits of plot to get them from sex scene to sex scene to sex scene. But those books are also like less than 200 pages long. And this one and the other books I've picked out for this video are like 450, 600 pages. So I guess they are building big plots around it. I just hadn't expected that. See, I guess in a way it's kind of like the nearest thing I can think of just off the top of my head is like Zodiac Academy, right? So they have the sex scenes, but there's a big plot alongside it, and that's why the books are so stupidly big. And I just assumed this wouldn't be like that. This would just be primarily around the sex, but I guess it's like similar, but just in a contemporary setting. I'm just all of this to say, I don't know, maybe I want more sex. I don't know. No, all of this to say, we're 30% of the way through the book, and already so much has happened, and there's very little like tension or build up, and I'm just like wondering where we go from here. But it's so readable, it's so easy, like the writing is so easy. Last night I stayed up way too late. I did not want to put this down. And why because I was like, when are they gonna admit to one another? When's this gonna happen, you know? Okay, well, I'll come back when I'm like, I've got something else to say, maybe around the halfway mark. I don't know. All I know so far is the premise is crazy, and I don't know, it's kind of funny. I'm kind of enjoying it. What more can I say at this point? Oh, ignore that mess there, please. Okay, my friends. I finished Fractured. What do I think about this? Okay. I finished Fractured. This book. Wow. Firstly, I had so many thoughts when I finished it, and I kind of wish I'd written it down. Okay, so this is my thoughts. We do need the reminder that I am not overly well versed in dark romance. So it did get me thinking, like, what makes a book dark romance? Is it that there has to be either a taboo element or there has to be murder in it? Because from what I've read so far, that's kind of what it's telling me, which is interesting. So if not this one, possibly if a book was written with lots of smutty scenes and stuff, there was nothing taboo, but then they threw in a murder, is that what makes it dark romance? I'm curious about what is it that makes it a dark romance. In Fracture, obviously we do have the taboo of the stepbrother, although it is, I would say, not so much really, because they didn't grow up together, and I was mistaken, they don't actually even share a parent at all. His dad isn't her dad, so Levi's dad died before his mum married Mallory. No, that was another book. For his mum married Stella's dad, so they were like step siblings in name only. There's no like blood relation. So I think the taboo in this is going to be more the poly relationship that they create. So these are some of the things. Is it that I'm taking these too seriously? Like, the reason I tend not to read so much contemporary based books is because I need them to feel realistic, because they're contemporary. I can accept, like, you know, a few happenstances and coincidences and things that need to happen for the plot. Obviously I can accept that, or we're not having a story. But when it's something that it just feels outrageously, like, almost fantastical, I'm at a point where I'm like, it's not realistic for me. So I don't know, like that's where I struggle. So with this, they're like, Levi and Dylan are out of prison for, I don't know, like the timeline in this book is really weird and really confusing as well. I will come back to that. But so they come out of prison. Yes, Levi is a trust fund kid. You know, he has a lot of money. And I don't know, maybe his name can open doors. But they've just come out of prison. They're still on, you know, they have to visit a parole officer and stuff. And within a week, like, they've bought a business, and I don't understand. I don't, to me, that felt like something that wouldn't be possible, but maybe I'm just completely wrong. And then, because I know that they have money coming, because Levi's got like his trust fund or whatever, but I don't know, can you just like have access to it and just do that? I don't know. And maybe I'm reading too much into this and I'm just ruining the fun of the story. And then Dylan also just buys a nightclub. He just buys a nightclub. I just feel like, and then he never goes to the nightclub. He never works at like, so he owns it. He's a manager of it, but he's never there. Like, literally the whole point of him buying a nightclub, it was just that they could have one scene, one like 3-chapter little block where they go to this nightclub and Stella, for some reason, strips down and does a naked dance on a pole, and they all decide to go home and have sex. That is literally it. Like, he didn't need to have bought the nightclub for that scene to have happened. They could have just gone to the nightclub. And he is not a trust fund kid. He's not a wealthy trust fund kid. How and why is he just coming out of prison and buying a nightclub? That feels very strange. Okay, and then this is my other thing with it. So the crux of this storyline is they're gonna get revenge for the people who were to blame for sending Stella for child abuse. Okay, it comes to light that Levi's granddad was in on it. It comes to light that his mum, who is Stella's stepmom, was the person who booked all of the people in and stuff. And so they decide they're going to get revenge, which, okay, it's a good plot line. Okay, a lot of dark romances, just from the few I've read, seem to include revenge and women getting sexually assaulted. I don't know if that's what needs to be in it for it to be a dark romance. I find like sexual assault and child sexual abuse to be something that I need the trigger warnings for, and I don't know if that's just involved in every dark romance. That's possibly another indication that this is just not a genre for me. So they end up like killing a load of, well, not a load of people, but they end up killing a few people and stuff, and they get all like gangster with it. And okay, these two guys, Levi grew up in absolute privilege, and he didn't, I mean, I guess before, no, yeah, he grew up in absolute privilege, and he didn't like slum it to rebel when he was like a teenager before he went to prison. Okay, Dylan, yes, he didn't grow up wealthy, but he grew up with a very, apart from his grandfather, he grew up with quite a stable, loving family. So again, as far as we know, he wasn't like involved in any kind of like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of the best words, but like gang related things. So they go to prison, they spend their time there together, like looking out for one another. And from what we can gather, there's no kind of, nothing happens to them in prison. They don't get pulled into any like gang things in prison. They don't get tied into anything. It's quite a kind of cushy prison that they're in. And then they come out and suddenly they're like scary gangsters. I just okay. And then let's talk about the timeline of this book. I understand that this book is meant to just be, I guess, fun. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. Maybe this is why this just isn't for me. But the timeline of this book like makes no sense. So we're reading it and it feels like maybe like a week and a half has passed, and then someone's like, it's been 2 months since this, and I'm like, since when? Since when? Since when? It's only been about a week. What are you talking about? There's been a couple of months. Why has Stella not been at work for like 9 months? It's not that long, but what is going on? This woman never goes to work, ever. And they come up with so many reasons as to why she can't go to work. And it's like, what is going on? If you just... Look, I understand that the author just wanted to write a load of sexual scenes between the 3 of them, which is fine, but you've got to be pacing it out in a realistic way. I don't know, the pacing was just really weird for the plot that was happening, and I was just getting really confused on the timeline of it. Maybe it's just me being dense, or maybe I was trying to think too much into it. I don't know. And then and also the question was answered that Stella just doesn't wear underwear, which is fine. That's her prerogative. Not for me at all. But she just doesn't wear underwear. So when they were like, oh, she's clearly not wearing underwear, that was true. She just doesn't wear underwear. And they had to throw in like this pregnancy scare. Okay. And then another thing I had issue with was, we've got, how much can I talk about this on the internet? We have Stella, we have Dylan, we have Levi. Okay. Now, in some of their menage a trois, there is some backdoor action. Okay. And I'm not saying, look, I'm not saying that we need to go into all of the details. Maybe we can do sometimes, just to show people like what to realistically expect, you know, apart from the women coming on demand after 2 frosts in every book ever. But there's no like building up, there's no like training. How do I talk about it? It's like the first time for people, and they're just some lube, go, oh yeah, it's so good that they orgasm. I'm okay, I'm not an expert. I'm quite certain that's not how it works. In fact, I'm gonna go out there and say that's 100% not how it works. That's how someone gets in pain. That's how damage happens. And fair enough, if the author doesn't want to write those parts of like the building up to it, the training, etc., that's fine, but don't make a big deal about it being the first time in this particular thing. Just don't say it's their first time. I just don't. I feel like some authors think that it works the same as a not backdoor, and no. No. So I don't know, there was just a lot that kind of took me out of the story, and I was like, okay. So yeah, basically not for me. I'm not saying the genre is not for me, but this book, not for me. The characters were kind of flat, not likable in my opinion. it felt like it could have done with an edit. I think that's what it is. It could have done with a really good edit. I feel mean, but that's my thoughts, and possibly I'm wrong. Well, I'm not wrong in my thoughts, but possibly I'm not giving a general consensus of the thoughts. I don't know. You know what I mean, okay? You know what I mean. I don't need another kink. The thought pops into my head whenever I pull up my favourite social media app, but alas, every time I scroll, I learn something new about myself, and another one is born. And yes, I know I'm responsible for what the algorithm shows me, but I'm trying to ignore that fact. Lately, my feed has been dominated by masked men. I've favourited videos with them dressed in full cosplay, decked out in futuristic military apparel, and wrapped up like ghouls. But more than anything else, my FYP is filled with shirtless men wearing ghost masks. Bonus points if they're heavily tattooed, wielding a knife, or covered in fake blood. At night I dream about being chased by them, of them catching me and doing deliciously dark things with my more than winning body. I would never have guessed that by sending one drunken text, those dreams would become my new reality. Okay, let's read Lights Out by Nevessa Allen. Lights Out is it's an interesting one. I really enjoyed it. It was funny. I think I would not have enjoyed it if the male protagonist wasn't so funny and so aware of the creepy shit he was doing. Yeah, so the whole concept of a mask TikToker, you know, those like TikTokers that do like wear a mask and then do sexy content whilst they're wearing a mask, you don't know what they look like. Yeah, he's one of them, and they're the people that once you start that, you can't remove the mask, because no matter how attractive you are, you're gonna have people complain that you're ugly, so just keep the mask on forever, like. But yeah, so he is one of those TikTokers that does like the smutty mask talk stuff, and she is a trauma nurse. Hi. And she is a trauma nurse who works like long shifts and has no time or inclination for a relationship, but she's obsessed with this mask talker, who turns out to be oh my god, Josh, I think he's called. Oh my god, my mind went blank there. Her previous situationship person is Josh's best friend and roommate, so they kind of have a they've kind of met very briefly, and then when Josh realizes she's the one that is always leaving comments on his posts and stuff, and he actually has a crush on her, he had a crush on her the moment he saw her, he decides to pursue it in a very dark romance love interest way by like breaking into a house, placing cameras in there, stalking her, like being in a house in his mask, obviously. And I think that the revelation of who he is, I mean, she does, like, it's not like a big revelation, she basically works it out and she doesn't really confront him straight away, but I think that that point came too early on in the book. I would have liked that teasing to have gone on a bit longer and like built a bit more tension of her trying to find out who he is, but she basically works it out like so quickly, and then it just goes really haywire, because then they accidentally kill a guy and it turns into that she has like her uncle is a gangster and they end up having to get his family to help them dispose of a body, and it just gets so ridiculous, and it's like a comedy film. It's like it reminded me of like a Carry On film, and I think that's why I enjoyed it so much, because it was just so silly. It was really silly. And Josh's inner monologues were absolutely fantastic. I've heard some clips of the audiobook on TikTok, and I kind of wish I had done it, and I kind of wish I had done the audiobook alongside, because the narrator for Josh just sounds absolutely brilliant. He seems to really, really capture the like ridiculousness and the sarcasm of it. So I wish I'd done that. But overall, I really enjoyed this book. It was so stupid, and is it a dark romance? I don't know actually, because I think this is always getting recommended as a good like entryway and beginner dark romance, but I don't know if it is, because I mean, I guess like the smutty scenes are quite the opposite of vanilla, which possibly can make it a dark romance, and there is a definite. I haven't read it, but I feel like this has the same vibes as Butcher and Blackbird. If you've read both, please let me know, because if they are quite similar, I'm going to give Butcher and Blackbird a try, because this gave me a chuckle. So maybe I would also find entertainment in the Butcher and Blackbird trilogy, or whatever it's called. I don't know if it's called the Butcher and Blackbird. That's the first book in the series, isn't it? So yeah, I didn't really check in during this though, because I didn't have like thoughts to share whilst I was reading it, and I didn't, unlike with Fractured, I read it so quickly. I was like, no, I need to know, and like that's why I had a lot of thoughts. But with this one, it actually took me a while to read. I was just reading a couple of chapters like a night. It took me maybe like a week to read, which it's not that long a book, so I don't know. Yeah, it didn't quite grab me as much, but it was entertaining. I don't know if that helps anyone or what you can take from that. That's all I got for you, I'm afraid. Yeah, I don't know. Let's go on to the next book. He wants revenge, but he wants her more. James has always had one agenda: to destroy his enemy, Peter Michaels. When Peter's 20-year-old daughter Wendy shows up in James's bar, he sees his way in, seduce the girl and use her for his revenge. It's a perfect plan until things in James's organisation begin to crumble. Suddenly he has to find the traitor in his midst, and his plan for revenge gets murkier as James starts to see Wendy as more than just a pawn in his game. Wendy has been cloistered away most of her life by her wealthy, cold father, but a spontaneous night out with her friends turns into an intense and addictive love affair with a dark and brooding James. As much as she knows James is dangerous, Wendy can't seem to shake her desire for him. But as their relationship grows more heated and she learns more about the world he moves in, she finds herself unsure if she's falling for the man known as James or the monster known as Hook. Okay, Hooked by Emily McIntyre. Let's go. Okay, so I am, wow, that daylight's quite nice. I'm not at home. I'm at my mum's. I'm just over halfway through Hooked, and this is in the direction I wasn't really expecting. As in, we're halfway through, and Hook has kidnapped Wendy, and he's like trying to get her to admit that she knew what was happening, like what her father's been up to with the business and stuff. Obviously I'm trying to avoid some spoilers, and I just kind of expected that this point would be like the third act. I thought that like this inevitability would be like the third act part, not halfway through. So the pacing of this is kind of throwing me for a loop, but like in a good way. It's just not as I expected, which you know, it's not a bad thing, because I want to be surprised. I don't want to feel like I can anticipate what's going to happen. And yeah, I'm surprised that this has happened midway through. I'm really enjoying the writing style. I am such a sucker for anything that's retelling or reimagining, so I'm kind of conditioned to enjoy this. But yeah, I'm really enjoying this so far. If this keeps up, I've only got about an hour and a half left. If this keeps up like this, I can see myself moving on with the rest of the series as well. They are standalones. They're not interconnected, or I don't know if they have like side characters that might be connected, but they're not like overarching stories. So they're all individual stories and they're all different reimaginings. The second one is Lion King one, I believe. So yeah, I think I probably will move on to the rest of the book series. But this is interesting. It's really messing with my expectation of what the pacing would be, and I finished Hooked, and I have thoughts. Can I vocalize those thoughts? I don't know. And the thing about this book is what's going on here? I'm not even entirely sure if I liked it or not, which is an interesting place to be. I loved all of like the Peter Pan elements that were brought into it. I mean, that's why I love a reimagining or a retelling. I love seeing authors come up with like ways of having little nods, especially when they're not just like almost straight recreations, but just in a slightly different way. Like, I like it when they just have very small nods to the original material that they're going with, and this was one of them. And I'm going to read more in this series. 100% I'm going to read more in this series. I did enjoy it. Like, I didn't want to stop. I mean, I read it in like 2 days. I didn't want to stop reading, but I don't know if I can say I liked it. That's the thing. I think I've realised the thing that the only reason dark romances work, it is, from what I've worked out, I could be wrong, but I feel like the only reason dark romances work is because the female protagonist, the heroine of the story, never really acts like a woman would in like the real world. So I feel like these love interests can get away with stalking, abusing, threatening, kidnapping, murdering, and everything else, because the female the main character doesn't see them as red flags. And I guess that's the difference between like a thriller and a dark romance, because we're focusing on the romanticized version of it. And so my next question for the dark romance readers is, do the love interests always need to have a depression backstory, or an abusive backstory, sad boy TM backstory, for all of the things they do to be accepted, romanticized, etc.? I don't know. Yeah, I very much think that's it, from what I've gathered, that's what it is. Like, if the heroine is just blind, absolutely blind to the color red, that's what makes it a romance, and that's what keeps it going. Possibly, I don't know. But so Hooked, from the 3 I read, I would say definitely the darkest of the 3. I would say I enjoyed it more than Fractured, but not as much as Lights Out, because Lights Out had like a comedic element to it. But I've also seen people say that Lights Out, I've seen people like recommend it as a good beginner dark romance book, but then I've seen a lot of people say it isn't. So I don't know. I'm kind of, I'm winging it here. I need some help. I think if I ignore the part of me that's like, if this was done to me, I wouldn't then marry and have children with this guy. If I ignore that part, I enjoyed the book. Yeah, so Wendy is a little bit, I do feel like she could have done with some more characterization. We had a lot for Hook, which I guess is the most important part, because we need to make him likable despite the things he's doing. Wendy was a little bit wet and submissive for me. I like my heroines to have a little bit more bite to them. Personal preference. I think out of the three, the smutty scenes in Hooked felt, this is going to sound ridiculous, but felt the most realistic, which, is that a ridiculous thing to say? I mean, I guess so. I don't know. I think if Lights Out wasn't so funny, actually Hooked might have been my favourite. Oh, hang on. So I did like it. I don't know. I'm going to come back to you. I'm going to think on my ratings for all of these books, and I'm going to come back to you. I'm going to rank them. And if you have dark romance books that I should have picked up, let me know, because I would like to do this again to find out. I still don't know if it's for me, but I do want to try more of this Never After series. So after Hooked, the next one is Scarred, and it's a Lion King one. There's like 6 of them out, so I will definitely pick up more in these, because it was actually extremely well written and very easy to read. Not like content wise, but like the writing style was easy to read, and the pacing was quite good. When I compare it to like the pacing of Fractured, this one was like thousands of leagues above for me in what I like in my pacing. And oh yeah, and this one had like a little like plot twist at the end, which was, and it was actually sprinkled in the build up, which made it really good, because half of the plot twist I was like, I got it, I picked up on this ages ago, and there was still a little bit that I was like, oh, hang on a minute, like, oh, okay. So yeah, enjoyed it. It made me I really want to watch the what are they called, is it the Poonaverse? I can't remember what it's called, but it's like characters like Peter Pan and Winnie the Pooh and stuff have come into the public domain. So there is someone that's making horror films of them all, and I've been really struggling to get hold of them on UK streaming services. They're not like anywhere on the UK side. If a VPN company wants to sponsor me, go ahead. But yeah, they've recently done a Peter Pan one, which I think would pair quite nicely with this book, based on what I know, because this book has a lot of, I don't even know what I told you what it's about, but this book, it has like this pixie dust, which is a drug that Hook pushes. Like he has people push it for him and like sell it for him. And in the film, I believe there's a drug. Is it called pixie dust as well? Wait. Does Emily McIntyre need to have a word about some sort of copyright here? No. But yeah, and there's like a heroin type drug, which I think is referred to as pixie dust in the film, and I quite want to see it. So yeah, there's Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, and then the second Winnie the Pooh film, and then a Peter Pan film. I can't remember what the next one's going to be, but they've got like 8 already planned out. So oh, they've done, yeah, that's the one, they've done Steamboat Mickey as well. That's in this universe. I've gone off on a tangent there, but this is the kind of stuff I like. I really like horror retellings of like childhood favorites, and I think that like comes across in like, I like just all kind of reimaginings. And my favorite used to be Beauty and the Beast as reimagining. I've read a lot of fantasy that's like Beauty and the Beast reimagining. I'm kind of Beauty and the Beast out now, because I think it's been done so much, and I'm kind of I could kind of see all the plot points before they happen now. And Peter Pan is a book I recently read, maybe like 2 years ago, and it is an all-time favourite up there with the Picture of Dorian Gray. I want more, definitely want more Peter Pan stuff. Yeah, I need to think on what I think of these, and then perhaps give them like a rating or a ranking, because I just, oh my god, I did not expect, honestly, I thought these would just be kind of like a fun time. I didn't expect to have thoughts about them, which is, I don't know, yeah. Okay, yeah, I'll be back soon. Right, so that's 3 dark romance books read. That was quite an interesting experience. I think now I've read them all, I feel like I'm not much closer to understanding what dark romance is. I feel like hooked, from my extremely unknowledgeable knowledge, I feel like hooked was the one out of the 3 I picked that actually there was actually dark romance, possibly. I feel like Lights Out was more a couple experimenting with different kinks rather than dark romance. But again, I'm extremely new at this. Please let me know if I'm wrong. And Fracture, I can never remember. Fracture, I think. Fracture, I can see it being like a taboo romance, even though I don't think the relationships between any of them were that taboo. Possibly like the poly element is what makes it more taboo. I don't know, but I don't know if I'd call it a dark romance. But again, I don't know. Does a dark romance have to have murder in it? I don't know. I don't know what the rules are. But it was definitely an eye-opening experience, and I definitely want to try out more in this genre. Perhaps some better examples of the genre. Maybe I've not picked the best ones. So I've had a big think about this, and oh, my tablet does not want to react to me. There we go. Okay, so these are my final ratings for these books. So in 3rd place, I would put Fracture. It is Fracture with a 2.75. The pacing in this and like the timeline, I didn't jive with it. I found it a little bit confusing, and I didn't really jive with it. And I also got a bit sick of the descriptions of Stella, and I also disliked the name Stella. Sorry if anyone's watching that's called Stella. And then I would put in 2nd place Lights Out with a 3.5. I think this was really fun and enjoyable. I don't think it was like, for me, it's probably not something I'm going to think about again. That's the thing. I probably, if you ask me in like a year or 6 months about this book, I'll probably just be like, oh yeah, that was the one with the mask. Like, I don't think I'm going to remember much more. And then that leaves Hooked as actually my favourite of these 3. And oh my god, I really couldn't decide on what I would rate this. But I ultimately decided on 4, because it was such a compulsive read for me. I think the writing was very good. The pacing was perfect in my opinion. And the characters were unapologetically flawed, and I kind of like that. Like, in my fantasy, I always gravitate towards those characters that are just evil for the sake of being evil. There's no like reason behind it. And whilst our main character, our love interest, Hook, James, does have a sad backstory to explain it, I still feel like he was just kind of overly evil for the sake of it, and I kind of enjoyed that. So that is where we are right now. I can't believe I came away with a 4-star from these books. That's crazy. Originally, I had on my list, Hooked was like a last minute addition. Originally, I was going to read Fracture, Lights Out, and this book that I've been calling Plier for ages, but I realised it's a dance book, so maybe that's Plie, and I've never seen that word written down, which would make more sense than Plier, right? So I'm going to say Plie. Please let me know if I'm wrong. And Plie is like 600 words. 600. Oh my god. Plie is like 600 pages. And luckily, before I started it, I just double checked like the synopsis, and I realised I don't think it is a dark romance. I don't even think it's advertised as that. So I don't know why I thought it was. At some point I thought it was dark romance. It's not. I think it's more in the vein of like Zodiac Academy, like, I don't know, it's like a reality show bully romance with dance, possibly magic. I don't know, but I don't think it's a dark romance. So I think I was right to take it off the list and replace it with Hooked, and I'm very glad I did. So thank you for joining me on this crazy journey. Let me know in the comments any other books I should be trying out, especially if I've gone outrageously wrong with any of the ones that I picked. So if you made it this far, please make sure to leave a like. Please consider subscribing, because I would love to do a second round of this in the future. I also have reading vlogs for various other things that you can go check out. If you would like to say hi but have nothing to actually say, please feel free to leave a fairy emoji for Tinkerbell in the comments, and I will see you soon in another video. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. Bye friends.